These are classwork problems. In case you really kind of struggled with them, I'm going to go through them, but I'm going to go through them very quickly. So you may have to back it up and forward it through if you need to. On number 1, there are 2 ways to work this. I'm going to work both of them. Like I said, I'm going to go through them very quickly. The first way is to leave it like this because I only have one variable. There's only one x right there. So to undo that squared, I take the square root of both sides. When I take the square root of both sides, the square root of 49 is 7. The square root of x squared is x. And that's equal to plus or minus, don't forget that, the square root of 64, which is 8. Then solve, divide both sides by 7. So x is equal to plus or minus 8/7. That's what my answer says it is over here. Okay, so let me undo that. So there's my answer. The other way to work it is to factor it. So I have 48x squared, 49x squared is equal to 64. I want to set this equal to 0, so I bring that over. So I have 49x squared minus 64 is equal to 0. I'm looking at this, I'm going, hey, this is a difference of squares, a difference of squares. And the question is, what squared gives me this first term? It would be 7x minus, what squared gives me 64? 8 times. The signs are going to be different, so I have to also add 7x plus 8. Do not just write one binomial. I don't understand why people do that. But anyway, here we have it factored. Now we set each one of these equal to 0. And we solve for x. Add 8. You get 7x is equal to positive 8. Divide by 7, and this is 8/7. Subtract 8, and that's negative 8. Divide by 7, and this is negative 8/7. Again, you have plus or minus 8/7, which is your answer. Number 2, I want to set this equal to 0. When I set this equal to 0, I have 2 terms to bring over. Again, I'm going to put those in decreasing power. Positive x becomes negative x. Positive 20 becomes negative 20 equal to 0. It's in decreasing power. It's got a coefficient of 1, so I just set up my 2 binomials. The signs will be different, x plus, x minus. What are factors of 20 that subtract and give me 1? That's going to be 4 and 5. 5 gets the first sign, which is negative, and 4. Set each one of these equal to 0 and solve. Subtract 4 from both sides, and that's negative 4. Add 5 to both sides, and that's a positive 5. And you get the answer from least to greatest, negative 4/5. Number 3, since we have 2 x's, an x squared and an x value, I have 2 terms that have x's, I cannot take the square root of both sides. I have to set it equal to 0. So I bring the 6x over, and it becomes negative. I write this least to greatest to least, decreasing power, so I have 2x squared minus 6x equals to 0. Always look for a greatest common factor whenever you have a binomial. I do have a greatest common factor of 2x. I'm hoping by now you can really kind of see that pretty easily. Taking out the 2x, that only leaves one of those x's left in the first. 2 will go into 6 3 times, and I took out the x equals to 0. I can easily distribute that to check it. So I've taken out the common factor. Nothing else to do. Now this 2 has an x. Because it has an x, and that's what I'm solving for, I set that equal to 0 and x minus 3 equal to 0. When you divide by 2, x is 0, add 3 to both sides, and x is 3. That gives me the answer, 0 and 3. Number 4, setting this equal to 0, bring the 4x over, and I have x squared, positive becomes negative 4x, minus 12 equals to 0. Putting this in decreasing power. So now I'm going to set up my 2 binomials equal to 0. The signs will be different. X plus, x minus. I don't have a coefficient, so I don't have to bottoms up. What are factors of 12 that subtract and give me 4? That would be 6 and 2. 6, the bigger number, gets the negative. 2 gets the positive. Set both of those terms, both of these binomial equal to 0. Subtract 2, x equals negative 2. Add 6, x equals positive 6. My answer is going to be negative 2, 6. On number 5, again, I want to set this equal to 0. I'm going to bring the negative 15 over it. It becomes a positive 15. So I have 2x squared minus 11x plus 15 equals to 0. Negative on the right means positive on the left. Do I have a common factor? No, I don't have a common factor. But because I have this coefficient, I'm going to have to bottoms up. So I have to say 2 times 15. So I have x squared minus 11x. 2 times 15 is 30. And then I factor. I set up my two binomials. The signs will be the same. They will both be minus minus, x minus, x minus. Then what are factors of 30 that add and give me 11? What are factors of 30 that add and give me 11? 5 and 6. Because these are the same sign, it doesn't matter the order that I put them in. Because also that I multiplied into, I have to divide out by 2 when you bottoms up. So this first one does not reduce, so 2 comes from the bottom up, and that becomes 2x minus 5. This does reduce to 3. Remember that you always reduce a fraction. Always reduce a fraction. Set both of these binomials equal to 0, and then solve. Add 5 to both sides, 2x equals to 5. Divide by 2, and x equals to 5 halves. Add 3 to both sides, and you get 3. So your final answer is going to be 5 halves, 3. We'll finish this on the next video.